Hello everyone and welcome back to Locke's Quest. Today we'll be heading on into the past for one of the most annoying gimmicks early on in the game. As you can see, Gens has followed us because there's an arcane needed here to help with the defense of the pass. Yet again, another mission where we have to take out specific targets on the map is what we're going to do the next day. Well, it looks like it was going well until we had a bunch of clockworks in the area. Gens lies here actually. There are no defenses already set up in any place. Honestly, when he says ancient defenses, he means that there are small walls that take up your space, so you can't even defend your walls that easier. You can go around and talk to people, but you can't leave this area and just go ahead and do the mission by itself. You have to go talk to the veteran first. And since no one has anything really interesting to say, let's just talk to him and get this started. You know, I always question about Locke's Quest. What would happen if they actually made a show out of the game? Like a 4Kids animated feature, but not as bad as Pokemon, where, you know, with Ash Ketchum, all you end up getting is a bunch of stupid decisions and very bad anime type things, and you also just get a lot of crap from it. I mean, like a good... What would be a good 4Kids anime? Not Sonic X either. And that's the pause screen. I don't really know. I don't really know of any really good 4Kids anime. I mean, maybe Dino King or something. I think that was one of them. Sounded kind of stupid. But I always wonder, because Locke's Quest is one of those games where I wonder, like, if they made a show about it, would that one thing give it more publicity, but also give it the ability to not reach more people, because that's the same thing as publicity. I mean, just the ability to get more maybe sales, and then they can warrant a sequel. Because I actually think that they could talk more about the game. It doesn't end on a cliffhanger. It doesn't end, you know, on a sequel note, like, here comes the next game, guys. No, it doesn't end like that. It actually ends on a nice note. I would love to see what they could do to expand the world on maybe the level of Spectros, where, if you remember in Spectros 1, everything was kind of generic, and it was all the same after a bit. But in Spectros 2, they updated stuff, they changed things, they made things, they tried to work to make things a lot better, including the graphical power. And then Spectros 3, that was in the lead, so that was a lot of revamping, redoing, and all that. So it ended up making the game a lot better because they had already learned from their past mistakes. The developers did, Disney Interactive. By the way, Spectrum series was a really good series, mind you. I don't know how I failed that section because there was only one number left. But the Special Series was a very nice series, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm gonna play that too at some point. So during that mission, you had to get rid of enemies. It was the same as the one in last section of the game. Yeah, they got a bit repetitive, but you know, there's only so much you could do with this. Excuse me. Now it's like 4 in the morning. Look at that timetable of videos that I've been recording. But there was only so much you could do with this perspective of view, as well as this type of game. 300 strong, compared to what we've been fighting lately, that's a pretty small force. Not really, gents. We fought more than 300, I'm sure. But when would you do that? Oh, I'd love to see you. Oh, man. I choose the worst times to start recording, don't I? I would love to see Kingdom Force actually do something for once and attack the opponent themselves, but no, they need Locke. Because Locke is the Deus Ex Machina of his own game. I mean, if Locke wasn't there, of course, the game's over. That's why it's called Locke's Quest and not Antonia's Quest or something. So now we're getting the acid turret. The acid turret does the same thing as the acid tripwire, but it doesn't in turret form, and it does the acid splash damage compared to the tripwire. Where now you can spend a bit more if you use the acid turret itself instead of the tripwire. Now you don't actually have to use the tripwire at all. I use the tripwire a lot, just force of habit. Plus the acid turret costs a lot of source, but if you want, you can change up the playstyle and from I do, and just put the acid turret as the actual as the acid traps, quote unquote, and then just have the other traps be there. Because if you mix the acid turret, not mix them as in mix and match them, but if you put the acid turret alongside a the freeze trap, because there is no freeze turret, sorry to say. But if you do that, you can actually increase the acid trap's usefulness, just due to the fact that the acid turret, God, I keep getting these mixed up. The acid turret will be able to not only hit the enemies, but they'll be eroding as they're frozen. I don't like to use the frozen. Like when I recorded Locke's Quest, I'm gonna mind you, when I recorded a long time ago, and I only used I had a very basic strategy that I like to do a lot. So I'm sorry if it seems like some of my strategies don't seem like the best strategies in the game. But I did do my best to try and make a good strategy for any person to use, just for like the generic player who just wants to play the game for fun. You don't want to play it like, let's see how much source I can conserve. I didn't put like a separate I didn't put like a separate challenge on myself. Oh, sorry, that was my cat. I didn't put a separate challenge on myself to make the game harder. That was odd. Cat likes to open and close doors for some reason. Overly smart, doing too much. Anyway. I've never understood why people like to do challenge runs. That's why the Nuzlocke run has always seemed confusing to me. Because, the Nuzlocke run is like in Pokemon, the Nuzlocke run is a more powerful, it's like a more challenging version of Pokemon, yes, but Pokemon isn't really that. God, cat, open the door and leave. Anyway, but Pokemon isn't exactly the type of game that's overly challenging, and see, the freeze trap is actually really good for taking out the charger enemies, because they stop instantly when they're in the middle of charge, which ruins their momentum. And we also see that we're introduced to the healer Clockwork here. The healer Clockworks, as I said before, they heal the other Clockworks, which makes them very annoying alone on their own, but as well as when they attack Locke, I believe they also hit him for damage, so they are still affected by the magic traps, however, so if you actually are able to get them to hit a magic trap, they won't be able to use their ability, and that nerfs them by a lot. That was a really big starting up force. This is where the game starts to feel a little bit more challenging to itself. One thing I don't like about the traps is the reload time on them, quote unquote. The amount of time it takes before they actually start working again. You see, one way you can always tell when a Clockwork is not able to use its special ability is when it has a little like explosion icon above its head, like something just imploded. That's its ability in floating, basically, at least the way that I've always seen it. One thing you don't want to let these charger enemies do is you don't ever want to let them charge into you. You want to just let them charge at you, but always try to dodge their attack, because that attack does a lot of damage. See, mixing the acid tripwire or the acid trap or the acid turret the acid bomb turret with the freeze turret actually helps you a lot in the long run. If you hear that that is a healer unit helping an enemy. I don't believe the freeze turret affects ghost enemies, which are ghost clockworks too. Yeah, but I know that affects all physical clockworks. It also doesn't affect flying clockworks, however. Yeah, this section actually has a lot of enemy spawns. What they did to make this section more challenging, because you know that they said like they're 300 strong coming. Well, to make it seem like, oh, it's going to be 300 strong, okay, let's just bring like groups of 15 every few seconds. And as you can see, double acid that does a lot of damage already on its own. So the acid trap is the acid. God dang it! The acid bomb is very good for taking out anything and everything, because and excluding flying enemies, it can hit almost any clockwork and still do a lot of damage if you double it with the acid tripwire. So always take that into account when you're using the acid bomb. One thing I liked about wood compared to stone and steel, but steel is a bit better, is a bit more like wood. And this is that it shows damage a lot easier than stone does. Stone doesn't show it as well because the breakings of stone doesn't look as, the gashes in it aren't as large or as definable as the wood is, in my opinion. Yeah, see, like that, they'll bring like a bunch of troops like that, and the only way to really take them out is to either have a really good wall defense, or a really good, or a really powerful special attack that you're about to use. And now here's the gimmick of the game of this series of days, and this is why I had to skip ahead almost every single day. While the soundtrack is very repetitive, Block's Quest does have a very good one. And that's what happens for the next 4 days of gameplay. After this, of course I skipped ahead to the next cutscene, but for the next 4 days of gameplay, each time you finish a day, you lose stuff. So you might as well just start conserving your source at this point. That's the only real way to win, because as you keep going, there are going to be more enemies, and you have to keep getting pushed back. Your defenses will keep getting pushed back and destroyed. So don't look forward to keeping anything. Well, we don't really run out of materials per se, we just run out of source. And sappers. Those are another enemy type that we'll be meeting later. But they don't, the boss does it different. He does things different than the sapper boss does things different than the sapper enemies, or or as they are called, the burrow enemies. He burrows under the ground, and we'll see him right here. See, he digs himself out of the ground, and then he puts sappers down. That's not what the actual enemy itself does, so this is just cutscene related stuff. But in the actual game, the burrowers like to hop out of the ground and dig underground to dig under your walls, and we'll get a trap that actually stops them from doing that. There's no way to nerf that special ability, like it's not a magical trap. More or less, it's a oh, he's commencing the detonation. I'd recommend running from that wall, guys, like the veteran did. Okay, just die. But they are annoying in that way. They're still affected by turrets. Like, turrets can still shoot at them, but they can't shoot them underground. It's like the Pokemon move Dig in a way, where you can't get affected by any attack other than maybe burn or a status effect when you're underground, and nothing else really affects you. So now this is one of the few changed the boss battles in the entire game. Instead of you going up to the boss and fighting him one-on-one with your turrets and stuff, you're actually chasing the boss. The boss is actually trying to run away from you, which is a bit different. He's still a boss type Clockwork, so you want to be careful when fighting him, because when you fight him, he does do a lot of damage, and there's really no way to get past him. Also, special attacks. I think I might as well say this now. I don't know why I'm getting such a nasally tone in my voice. I shouldn't have a cold. It's the middle of July, but or it's the beginning of July. How's your 4th of July, everyone? Anyway, the Clockworks that are like red, the boss Clockworks, they do a lot of damage, and they're not affected by special attacks that easily. I recommend just using a mixture of your two like special attacks that are that just happen when you fight, not your super attack, because the super attack doesn't actually affect him as badly as the other attacks. And now that the sapper's gone, we can actually go ahead and we found our new turret. This turret is actually required. If any other turret's not required, I don't know, but that turret itself is required, and sometimes the game will mess you up and not give you that turret. I've had playthroughs of this game where I have not gotten this turret in time, and the next section of the game I lost constantly because I couldn't fight the enemy that was like there. At least when you fail making something, you have to get all the scrap that would just be terrible. But this turret is called the flak cannon, if you didn't notice, and the flak cannon takes on flying enemies. Which flying enemies, like I said before, I believe I mentioned before, flying enemies are not actually affected by normal turrets, meaning that they are they're probably one of the hardest enemies to hit in the entire game, because the only way to take them down is either with the flak cannon or with Locke himself, because for some reason Locke can jump 50 feet in the air and just attack them head on. Makes perfect sense. And then I remembered it's a video game. But this day is like the final day of the entire section of this game, and I tried to make every section, excluding the last one, where it was part 6 and 7 put together, to make that full section. I tried to make every section at least somewhat one part, so that's why in some sections it's like, some videos are like 20 minutes, while other videos are like maybe 15, 17 minutes. That explains I just thought I'd explain why the videos are such different lengths. As you can see, during this part of the game I actually didn't use traps. And the reason why I didn't is because I was running low on source, and I really want to put up a wall defense, because the Kingdom Force, they're gonna die. They're gonna die if I don't put up enough walls to defend them. And I don't want to ever rely on Kingdom Force to help defend something while I had another wall. I also screwed up my if you could tell, I screwed up my turret setup, or my wall setup in the back, so I actually need them to be there to help defend. And I don't trust any type of AI in this game to defend something, at least. I trust the Clockworks to attack me. I don't expect Clockworks to start attacking each other. Hey there, Magician. You're on your own. Guess what? You're about to die. In like 2-1. Whoa. There's really not much else to say about this part. After this episode, or this section of the game, we'll be going to another one to meet up with a certain character that tells us a different viewpoint of the history of Antonia and the kingdom itself, and gives us a different view of Agony. We'll also After that section, we'll also make our way back to Antonia, and we'll have a bit of plot and cutscenes that are going to have some major effect on Locke and his journey. See, right there, that enemy almost took me down to half health when he rammed into me, because I wasn't paying attention to him. So you really don't want the charger enemies to run right into you, because, yeah, that kind of hurts. So now that we're at we've almost met all the enemies in the game, what do you all think of actually the enemy variation and how they, and like just the types of enemies? Do you think the Shielder, like the fact that he's just an enemy that doesn't even do damage, he just sits there and stands, do you think that he's kind of a idiotic enemy for that? Do you like think the Magician's a bit OP in a way because of his major damage as far as magic? Or do you think like the normal soldiers just get the shaft and they should be upgraded to like knight staff, and there should only be knights instead of normal soldiers and things? I always wonder because sometimes I always think that the normal Clockwork always get the shaft in this game because they I mean they don't really do much. They can't do much of anything to lock in as far as damage, and even when they get upgraded, they're not really that powerful. They're just kind of there. If you don't have the required amount of source that you're supposed to have at a certain point, the game will auto give you source, by the way. So if at a certain point in the game, like when you start off a section, you have like 40 source. Don't think you're gonna go into the next section with 40 source and have to spend an entire day just running around fighting every enemy in the entire world trying to use some special gear. Really, just you'll always get source. So has anyone watching this actually played Blarg Quest, or knows someone who's played it and enjoyed it, or I have to wonder because Epically Awesome has been enjoying the series apparently, and I really do. I'm really happy that I'm helping someone or someone who's enjoying the game, because I think that I think the game really deserves a good Let's Play, and the only other Let's Play on Blarg's Quest as far as YouTube is actually a camcorded one. I started a walkthrough a long time ago on my old channel Jawan, but that was a good few years ago, and it didn't go over very well, I'll admit. Well, I'm not exactly a king, but I'll take your praises. And not to be kind of negative towards the guy that did this game as far as his camcorder Let's Play, but he like got to episode 4 and then he just stopped. And that was another sad thing. He just stopped. Like, I know I've been gone for about a week as of recording this. I had uploaded a part, but now I'm trying to. That was due to a power outage because I had commentary ready for most of the videos, but I just couldn't get them up. And then by the time I got my power, I was so ecstatic. I just went and played other games and stuff and didn't record Blarg's Quest. So that's an apology. Now Jens is going to give us a blue bit who has a little funny Easter egg that I'll show in an extra video. I wonder what blue bit is still, but that's been the end of Blarg's Quest, and I'll see you all next time.